Imagine running a factory in Germany, Europe's industrial powerhouse, and being forced to shut it down not because of strikes, not because of low demand, but because electricity is too expensive to turn on. Germany spent $500 billion trying to go green, $500 billion. And the result? The highest electricity prices in the developed world. Factories fleeing the country. And here's the insanity. They're tearing down wind farms to dig for coal. They shut down nuclear power after Fukushima, a disaster 5,000 miles away, and replaced clean energy with the dirtiest fuel on Earth. Imagine this for a moment. You're the CEO of a massive manufacturing company. You make steel, chemicals, cars, the stuff that literally built the modern world. You're operating in Germany, Europe's economic engine, a country famous for precision, efficiency, and engineering dominance. But it's 2023. You walk onto the factory floor, and it's quiet. Too quiet. Not because customers disappeared. Not because workers are striking. But because you cannot afford to turn the lights on. Welcome to the energy wind, the energy turnaround. It was supposed to be humanity's triumphant leap into a utopia of wind, solar, and guilt-free electricity. Germany spent over $500 billion, $500 billion, trying to engineer this green miracle. And what did they get? The highest electricity prices in the developed world, a de-industrializing economy, and the darkest irony of all, they are tearing down wind farms to expand coal mines. Yes, really. Today, we're dissecting the most expensive unforced error in modern economic history, how hubris, geopolitical blindness, and panic led a global superpower straight into a trap of its own making. Buckle up. This is going to be a bumpy and very expensive ride. The knee-jerk reaction, how fear killed the atom. To understand how Germany ended up at the edge of the cliff, we need to rewind to 2010. The iPhone 4 was brand new. People were still doing the Dougie. And Germany's Chancellor, Angela Merkel, a literal physicist with a PhD in quantum chemistry, had just extended the lifespan of Germany's nuclear power plants. At the time, Germany was doing great. A balanced mix of nuclear, coal, and renewables. Nuclear alone provided 25% of the country's electricity. Clean, stable, cheap. The plan made sense. Use nuclear as a bridge while renewables slowly scaled up over decades. Then came March 11, 2011. A massive earthquake off Japan triggered a tsunami that slammed into the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant. A real tragedy. But one that happened 5,000 miles away in a seismically active zone involving a 40-year-old plant design. Germany, for the record, does not get tsunamis. Logic would suggest a safety review. Check backup systems. Improve standards. But politics isn't driven by logic. It's driven by emotion. The German public panicked. The anti-nuclear movement, led by the Green Party, went into full overdrive. This was their "we warned you" moment. So what did the physicist chancellor do? Did she study the data? Calculate baseload requirements? No. She panicked, or more accurately, made a calculated political pivot. Days after Fukushima, Merkel announced atomosting. Germany would shut down all nuclear plants by 2022. 8 reactors were switched off immediately. Just like that. Gone. This was the original sin of Germany's energy crisis. Imagine smashing a perfectly reliable furnace in the middle of winter and saying, "Don't worry, the sun will come out eventually." Germany threw away 17 paid-off, zero-carbon power plants. Why was this a $500 billion mistake? Because replacing working nuclear plants with wind turbines isn't progress. It's economic suicide. You're not adding capacity. You're spending billions just to stand still. Electricity prices tripled compared to the U.S. Carbon emissions barely moved for a decade. Why? Because when the wind didn't blow and the sun didn't shine, which happens a lot in Northern Europe, Germany had no nuclear backup. So they burned lignite coal, the dirtiest fuel on Earth. They killed clean baseload power to save the environment and ended up relying on the filthiest rock in the ground, the Russian needle, addicted to cheap gas. With nuclear gone, Germany needed a bridge fuel. Natural gas. Cleaner than coal. Faster ramp up. essential for industry. But Germany didn't have much gas of its own. Enter Vladimir Putin. Germany believed in Wandel-Durchhandel, change through trade. Buy enough Russian gas, and Russia will become a friendly democracy. This belief produced Nord Stream 1 and 2, pipelines pumping cheap Siberian gas directly into German industry. By 2021, 55% of Germany's gas came from Russia. There were warnings. Poland warned them. Ukraine warned them. The Baltic states screamed it was a geopolitical trap. Even Donald Trump warned them at the UN in 2018. The Germans laughed. Then came February 2022. Russian tanks rolled into Ukraine. Gas prices didn't rise. They went vertical. At the peak, prices jumped 1,000%. Factories couldn't absorb it. Utilities collapsed. Uniper alone required a $30 billion bailout. Germany had no nuclear, no cheap fossil fuel alternative, and its main energy supplier became an enemy. The era of cheap German manufacturing was over. De-industrialization. Goodbye, made in Germany. Look at Ludwigshafen, home of BASF, the largest chemical plant on Earth. In 2023, BASF announced permanent downsizing in Europe. 2,600 jobs cut. Plants shut down. Investment redirected to China. Why? Because energy in China is cheap and ideology doesn't shut factories down. Volkswagen is moving battery production to North America. Miele is leaving Germany. This isn't structural change. It's deindustrialization. When factories leave, they don't come back. Germany is hollowing itself out to meet carbon targets, while the rest of the world ignores them. Grid bottlenecks and AMP for billion-dollar ghost electricity. Wind power is in the north. Factories are in the south. Transmission lines were delayed until 2028. So when wind farms overproduce, they're told to shut down and still get paid. In 2022 alone, this ghost electricity cost $4.2 billion. Consumers pay twice. For green energy not used. For coal and gas that is used. The heat pump rebellion. In 2023, Germany tried banning new gas boilers. Heat pumps work, but not in old, poorly insulated homes. Costs range from $20,000 to $50,000. The public revolted. The far right surged. The government nearly collapsed. People panic-bought gas boilers, locking in fossil fuels for 20 more years. The green mirage. Yes, emissions fell in 2023. Why? Because factories shut down. That's not climate success. That's economic collapse pretending to be progress. Germany's grid is now dirtier than France's, which runs on nuclear. An electric car in Germany emits 8 times more CO2 than one in France. The 2025 reality check. Germany's economy stagnates. Industries look for exits. The political system fractures. Developing nations are watching and choosing the opposite path. Coal, nuclear, reliability. Germany became a role model of what not to do. Final thoughts. Energy policy must obey physics, not ideology. Germany spent $500 billion learning that lesson. Hopefully, the rest of the world can learn it for free.